So it is my great pleasure this evening to welcome Angela Roth, who's going to share her story. She is a coach, and she has a passion because of her journey for helping people come to terms with a healthy weight. So I'm not going to say any more, and I'm just going to welcome Angela. And I would invite you to please, Angela, tell your story, how you got involved in this fabulous area of work.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here, actually. So thank you for inviting me. Well, how it started is that I grew up in a family with 8 children, and we were very, very happy, very much loved, didn't have any question about who I was as a child at that stage. All shapes and sizes, with 8 children, you're going to be all different shapes and sizes. And, I used to smile a lot and just enjoyed my family life. And at the age of 11, I achieved a scholarship place in the local high school that all the parents wanted their daughters to go to. And my mum and dad had put me in for it because the other schools in the area had dipped in their quality. So I was number 6th child. And so they wanted me to have at least a chance. And I passed the exam and went to the school, but I didn't know anybody. So I went on my own, and there I am in the classroom first day with all these girls around me, all excited, chattering. I was looking around trying to find somebody that might be my friend because I didn't know anybody. Mum had told me, just smile at somebody, they'll be fine. They'll talk to you. So I was looking around, and eventually my eyes rested on a girl who looked a bit like one of my sisters. Red hair, curls, freckles. And she had 2 other girls with her. And I remembered Mum saying that 3 isn't a good number. So I thought I could, So I smiled over at her. And the look I got back just chilled me because it wasn't a kind look. It was a cruel look. And I just didn't know what to do. And I couldn't look away. But then the teacher walked in, come on, girls, everybody sit down, find your seats. So I sat, but as I sat, I just felt somebody brush behind me, and a voice, "What are you doing here, Fatso? You needn't think you're going to get any friends. I'm going to make sure of that." And my world just crumpled because I didn't know what to do. What did I say? Who did I tell? I couldn't tell Mum and Dad because they were so proud of me being there, and they'd also had to make a sacrifice, so they had to sort of partially pay. So instead of going to the bus stop that night, because they were at the bus stop, I had my bus money in my hand, and I walked home and found a new friend. She said I wasn't going to get any friends, but I did find a friend, and the friend was dairy milk chocolate, basically. We've got the cat coming and join us. And that really became my friend. That's how I sort of coped with it, was to start comforting myself. And the only person I could tell was one of my sisters, Helena, who was about 4 years older. And I managed to tell her because she used to look after me when I was little. She used to be my, I would play, I would do the games that she wanted me to do. And I told her, and then I discovered that she too was struggling. So we actually used to comfort each other. And also she would take me for secret chips and things like that. And she knew I would never tell Mum. So we sort of coped, but our weight obviously didn't cope. And so weight sort of went on. And so through teenage years, early adulthood, marriage, and so on, I battled with this kind of up and down, never feeling happy, hating getting in the bath, particularly because everything showed. So I could kind of hide it when I was wearing clothes, but in the bath, you can't hide anything, can you? So even though you lots of water bubbles and everything, you can still see everything hanging out. And I coped, I would say things like, "Oh, it's baby weight, and it'll go, once we've had the children." But I was also doing baking and cakes and pretending I was doing from other people, but making twice as much as we needed and that sort of thing. And then one day I was at another sister's house with the children. We're having a birthday party. So it was a very happy time. And the phone went. And it was one of my brothers. And he just said, "Angie, you need to sit down." I said, why do we need to sit down, Nick? I need to tell you something. What is it, Mum? What do you need to tell me? No, it's not Mum. It's Elena. She's taken her own life. She's died. She's not here anymore. And Mum found her. And that's just not news that anybody wants to hear, that someone would take their own life. But I knew why she'd done it. And she'd done it because she had been so unhappy. She'd even been like Slimmer of the Year for Weight Watchers. She'd won prizes for her weight loss, but the weight had just gone back on again, and she never could get to the bottom of it. And I obviously there was a period of time with anger and grief and trying to work it all out. But eventually, about a year later, I decided I had to do something else. So I went and joined a weight loss group. 4 stone lighter in 4 months. Thought I'd solved the world. I'd conquered it. I was there. I was going to change everything, and became a consultant for that weight loss group. Convinced that I'd solved it, and I was now going to solve it for everybody else. But actually discovered that I hadn't solved anything at all. I'd used willpower, and willpower is a wonderful thing when you've got it. But actually, as soon as life goes pear-shaped again and the willpower disappears, the habits come back, and they did. And I was there helping these ladies lose weight whilst hiding my own weight gain in any piece of shapewear that I could buy from the from Marks and Spencer's in the UK. Sucking yourself in and breathing in and, pulling it up. So you're standing in front of the room, you can hardly breathe because she's wearing this tight underwear, basically. And feeling a complete fraud, because I wasn't living the life. I was living a lie. And then one day I looked around and I thought, you know what? These dear ladies are living the same lie as me. We're comforting each other every week. We're saying, oh, it's okay. No, never mind. Don't worry. We'll be okay next week. We're sharing recipes. We're having a great time. We're socially very, very active. But we're not losing weight and we're not happy with our bodies. And we might have a weight loss one week, back on the next week, etc. And we're not actually dealing with the problem. And so I took myself on a journey first to discover why I was eating, because actually I realized that unless I understood why I was eating, I was never going to be able to deal with what I was eating. And it was just like a light bulb moment, and it was a fascinating journey, but it was hard. But it involved letting go of the things that had hurt me through the past. And those bullies, understanding that they did what they did because of whatever had happened in their life. They weren't born bullies. Something had made them bullies, and I had no control over that, and they didn't either. So I just decided I would forgive them, and other things that had happened, and my sister's suicide. I needed to forgive her for that. I needed to let go of that, and for her sake, I needed to find a way forward from it. And so I actually decided that I wasn't going to let my past direct my future, that I had the choice to change my future by letting go of the past. And it was just a complete and utter revelation for me. I began to love myself in a way that I hadn't done before, in a way that I wanted to look after my body. And that's what I started to do. And then as you start to do that, you realize that your body wants to look after your mind as well. So it's like a whole circle of love, actually. And that's what I love doing and helping other people now with.
That story was even more in depth than you've told me before. That's fascinating. How many of us are in that boat, even today, after all these years?
Yeah.
Oh, my word. Thank you so much for sharing that. So can I ask you what exactly it is that you do with your clients to help them over this hurdle?
So I developed a program. It's called the Shapeshifters Blueprint. And we start off looking at the story, and we just investigate and explore the story of any of my clients. And we look back, but we don't look back with an attitude of blame, and we don't look back with an attitude of guilt, because these are things that we've grown. Most people in this situation have actually lived in that for so long, either blaming other people for how they feel or feeling guilty for how they feel. So what we do is we go on an adventure and we lift up the stones and we look underneath and we find the worms and all the things that you do when you're a child looking at, and you realize that they're there, but they have no hold over us. They have no right to stay there. So we actually go through a process of letting go, and that can be quite challenging. But I think the biggest thing for most people is that the idea of forgiveness, because a lot of people think, I can't forgive because what they did was wrong. And it's like, unless they said sorry to me, I can't forgive. But once you realize that forgiveness is about healing yourself, because we've no control over anybody else, it's about becoming right in ourselves and loving ourselves, then it's a whole new story. And it's a wonderful place to watch somebody realize that they can forgive and they can let go, and they can leave the other person to deal with their own life, and we can deal with ours. So we start there, and that's probably a big chunk for a lot of people. And then we move on to looking at, well, what did that do to us? What kind of beliefs did that set in us about ourselves? And we start to talk about, well, how we see ourselves, and also how we've allowed other people to see us. And we start to rewrite that and begin to realize, well, how do we want to see ourselves? And how do we want other people to see us? And how can we change our own opinion of ourselves? And how can we behave in a way that changes other people's opinion of ourselves too? So that's quite a journey as well, but it's an exciting journey. And that goes into the habits that we've created for ourselves and letting go and changing those. And then it's about living in that freedom now and actually walking forward and being strong and confident enough to actually say to other people that you don't want them to treat you like they have been treating you. You're not the person that's going to take the picture because you don't want to be in it. You're not the person that's going to take the cake home to finish because you always have been in the past. And but what I discovered is that most people who struggle with emotional eating are empaths. They're usually very caring people. They're lovely, kind people who don't want to hurt anybody. And so they've agreed to things and they've taken on things about themselves because they don't want to hurt the opinion of the other person. So they'll have eaten boxes of chocolate because they don't want to hurt the people that gave it to them, even though the person that gave it to them isn't anywhere near them and doesn't even live in their house, but they've still ate the chocolate because, it was a present. And it's just really interesting as people begin to realize they've got so many good qualities, but they've also got the right to love themselves and to care for themselves and nurture themselves. And so all of that process goes through. And then we look at the nutritional side as well. And we start actually eating foods that are good for us instead of the sort of fast foods or the processed foods. And we start to eat foods that are actually going to nurture our insides as well as our emotions.
Such valuable information. Now, tell me, Angela, how is the best way, if any of our listeners would like to be in touch with you, how's the best way for them to be in touch with you? Do you do these consults one-on-one, as you said, with your circle, or do you also do consultations online?
So if they go to our website, which is literally www.shapeshiftersacademy.com, there is actually a free call that you can book. And first of all, just a 15-minute call just to have a chat so that I can talk a little bit more about what they're looking for. And then there's also a 60-minute call that they can book through that 15-minute one where it's a free call that we can just go through and have a look at where they are. And literally that's totally with my love. And if that's all they need and they can go away and they can start putting things right in their own life, or if they want to work with me more, and then we can talk about how that is. And there's a group program, there's one-to-one sessions. There's some free gifts that they can also download from there as well that will just help them start on that journey. And sometimes people do that and they start and they begin to put things right for themselves, and then they want a bit more, so they come back. Other people come straight away and say, do you know what, I just need to work with somebody and let's just get on with this straight away.
Yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it. I think so many people have done so many, as you said, this diet, that diet, cutting out this, exercising to thinking that is all they need to do, and that doesn't work as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So in closing, what sort of, if I say to you, what are, say, 2 or 3 tips that you would give to anybody who's looking to have a healthy weight and love their bodies?
So the first thing I'd say is don't listen to the language that says you need to be a dream weight. Start understanding that there's an ideal healthy weight for our bodies that we will actually be able to sustain. And it might not be the size 6 that you see a model being, because you've got to look at your own bone structure, you've got to look at your age and things like that. So it's really that conversation in itself is a really worthwhile conversation to have. And then it's about understanding why you eat. So one of the best things you can do, and you can actually get this from if you want to, is a sort of 7-day food and feelings diary. And you don't change what you eat that week. You eat your normal foods, but you write down, why am I eating it? When am I eating it? What am I eating? And how do I feel afterwards? And you make a note of all those things, and you go back and you'll see a pattern straight away as to things. Like for me, one of the things I noticed doing that was the 3 times I would go and reach for biscuits particularly was when I was feeling tired or cold or bored. And those 3 things would send me to the biscuit barrel. And I just hadn't kind of cottoned on. But that was just, so it's really fascinating watching and having a look at those things. And that's quite a simple thing to do.
So were you a silent chocolate eater? When
yes.
silent,
yes.
You would go somewhere where no one could see you eating it. That's what I used to do.
Yeah, definitely.
I used to lock myself in the toilet and eat my chocolate so no one could see me eating it. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah, well, no, because that is what our brains tell us to do. And actually it's not, we shouldn't be guilty about that, because our brains do actually tell us to do that, particularly when we've tried to cut out stuff. And I bet you used to hide the papers at the bottom of the bin as well, so
Absolutely.
Nobody could see them.
Oh, for sure.
But you know what made me realize that I was actually free was the fact that when my son gave me a Valentine's present of chocolates, and I was able to put them in the fridge and take one, and I had more excitement about the chocolates I left in the fridge because I knew that I could go back another day and have another one. And there was no fear of having that chocolate anymore, which there used to be, because I used to be afraid that I'd eat the whole lot. And now I've still got the box in the fridge in the garage. I refill it every so often and just enjoy the odd one now and again.
Well, I must tell you, I'm the guilty one when it comes to, I don't have chocolate in the house, because if it's there, I eat it. The whole slab, the whole box, chocolate biscuits, whatever. I just cannot have chocolate in the house, because if it's there, I'll eat it. And so I don't buy it, because if I buy it, I eat it.
You say, well, you know what? That could change. I used to be like that.
Oh my gosh, I think I'll be first in the queue, my love. Well, I must say it's been such a delight for you to share those tips. And I really look forward to being able to share this interview on Facebook, on social media, so you can help as many people as possible feel terrific like you.
I would love that.
Thank you so much, Angela,
for
you're welcome. Being my guest this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Bye for now.
Bye.